The following program is a public access production. The Village of Villa Park is required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements for the community. The Village of Villa Park is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Village of Villa Park, but solely the opinions of the participants.
Hello, this is another presentation of the Villa Park Cable Commission, Channel 6 and Channel 99. And, but before we do that, this is Sid's show, and Sid alone is responsible for the content. And if anything comes against what the village would say, or the Cable Commission would say or do, or anything like that, you gotta blame me. But today, because today we're talking to a very lovable, intelligent, great person, state senator for 1,000,000 years. Well, maybe not 1,000,000, but more than once. And with the redistricting, she's taken over all of the Villa Park area. Before that, you were just north of North Avenue. Is that right, Cheryl?
Right. I have some of Villa Park right now.
And let me stop before. This is Senator Carole Pankau.
Hi, Sid. How you doing?
And Carole, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because probably everybody on the north side or north side probably knows all about you and all that. But those of us on the south side, maybe not too much.
Okay.
You were born in
Valparaiso, Indiana, because that was the big town in those days, and I actually grew up in a little teeny tiny farm town about 10 miles south of Valparaiso called Boone Grove, Indiana. And that's where I graduated from high school and grew up. I was a farm girl, and my father, my grandfather, and my uncle all farmed together. And they did corn and soybeans, and then we also raised hogs. So I was in 4-H and went and showed my hog at the county fair. Never went to the state fair, but I did make the county fair. So yeah, I'm a farm girl from Indiana.
And according to what little information I was able to get, no, not that. Don't say that, sir. I got too much anyway. But you graduated from the University of Illinois with honors.
Yes, in accounting. But that's a story too. When I graduated from high school, I went to Purdue University. And there I met my handsome and charming husband, John. And we've been married 45 years now. So and he was 2 years older than I was. So when he graduated, I didn't finish at Purdue. I had 3 years in at Purdue. But I quit because we started a family, and he had a job, and we had kids. I had 4 kids in 6 years, Sid. Yeah, I was a little busy there. So between raising the kids and everything else, 13 years later and 4 kids later, I went back to school at the University of Illinois, downtown. Chicago Circle campus, and switched from political science, which is what I started out in, over to accounting, because that was something I could actually do something with. So my degree is actually in accounting from the University of Illinois. Yeah.
That sounds like my life. You see, my first wife, unfortunately, she passed away in '76.
Oh.
But we kidded her. She went to Elmhurst College. And at one time, they said, well, we got to leave the doors of the classroom open because she was about 8 months and 30 days pregnant.
Oh.
But she did the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's great. And it tells me, too, that I think we're all going to vote for you.
Oh. Thank you, Sid. Well, I also have to tell you, it took me 2 years to finish up that last year of my degree, to actually get the 4-year degree, the bachelor's degree. And during that time, my husband John and I owned an auto body repair shop out in Bloomingdale. It was called Bloomingdale Carriage Shop. And so from time to time, he would say, he would just kind of be mumbling under his breath, I always wanted to go to law school. I always wanted to go to law school. And he had graduated from Purdue with his degree in economics. So finally, after 2 years, after I finished my degree, I said, okay, honey, either shut up or go get it. Go to law school. And he did. He did. It took him, law school is 3 years. It took him 3.5 years because there was one semester there we didn't have the money. So when you don't have the money, you just don't go to school. You wait till you get the money. But we raised 4 kids, ran an auto body repair shop, and he went to school and got his law degree. So he's a lawyer in Itasca, and he does wills and estates and, that sort of thing. Trusts, that sort of thing.
And that's not a paid testimonial.
No.
I also understand that you also used a tow truck on occasion.
Oh, yes, because we ran this auto body repair shop, and there was a storage lot right next to it that we also owned. So we did all the police towing. So when there was an accident, sometimes they would need more than 2 tow trucks. We always had 2 tow truck drivers on at any given time, but sometimes they needed a 3rd truck. And guess who was the 3rd truck? In fact, I can remember sometimes when John and I would go out along with one of our other employees, and I would pull up to a scene, and maybe I had just come from a county board meeting, or because I was doing that at the same time too. And here I would hop out with my heels and suit on. I'm one who would have to get the sweeper and kind of sweep up the street. The guys would hook the car up for me, but then I would drive it away. Actually, Sid, I could tow your car today if I had to. I still know how to do it.
Well, I sure hope you don't have to.
No, I don't want to.
This tells me that you weren't really, you guys weren't really like the infamous Lincoln towing downtown.
Oh, no. You waited till you got a phone call from the police department. Yeah.
There's so many things that I kind of wrote down a little bit in my notes, and I really don't know where to start, other than the fact that your resume is so full of,
of
good things. Good things.
Well, thank you.
And I got to tell you this. I have information. She was born in 1947. And it looks to me, sitting here, even with there's makeup on a little bit, but even so, I would say she's not much, wouldn't be much over 40.
Aw, thank you.
And that,
you sweet-talking devil, you.
And listen, I can see better with one eye than most people can see with 2.
There you go. Well, no, there's a lot of wrinkles around there.
I got to put these glasses
So,
back on.
my husband John and I, we have 4 children, all of which are grown, raised, all married, and we have 11 grandchildren. 11
grandchildren?
Yes. The best part of my life, the joys of my life, 11 grandkids.
Well, grandkids are so wonderful. You take them and spoil them or play with them, spoil the devil out of them, and then give them back and say, here, it's yours. Been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Occasionally babysit, but that's usually from a certain time to a certain time. So then you leave and say, oh yes, they're all alive. John and I will often say, when the parents come back, if they're all still alive, it's okay. We did our job.
Any great-grandchildren?
Yes. My oldest granddaughter. Now, our oldest son, John, married Sherry, who had 2 children from her previous marriage. And her oldest daughter, Jenny, just gave birth to a little boy. She got married probably about 3 years ago. She's down in Louisiana. And Griffin came to us last month. in January. So one great-grandchild. But I haven't gotten, because of the campaign and everything, I haven't gotten down to Louisiana to see him yet. So we have a little time off in April from the General Assembly. We've got a week off there, a Holy Week, just before. So I'm afraid we're going to have to book a flight down to Louisiana to see Griffin.
You say you'd give your right arm to be there for your family? Here's your chance to prove it. Have your blood pressure checked and control it to lower your risk of heart attack and stroke.
There's one thing that I wanted to ask. I wanted to ask just about any legislator I see. That last year, I put down a note somewhere here where there was something like 9,037 bills. That was in the 97th General Assembly. There was 9,037 bills were introduced and 1,487 resolutions.
Yeah.
Now, how do you possibly keep track of all?
You don't. You can't possibly keep track of all that. What you do is you keep track of the bills that are your bills, number one, that you sponsor, and that come to committees that you sit on. So, for instance, I'm the Republican spokesman on the Commerce Committee in the Senate. That's the committee that's supposed to try and keep jobs in this state. A very difficult task, given the tax increases that my Democratic colleagues have shoved through lately. But that is the type of thing where I will know and read all the different bills that come before that committee, know them inside and out, so that when that bill, if it does pass committee, goes to the Senate floor, I can stand up and speak on it. Yes, we were in favor of this. This bill started out with this, but during the course of committee deliberations, we added this amendment, or added this on, took this off, whatever the circumstance would be. So that now we bring you a bill that is A, B, and C included. And we recommend that you do adopt it. It's customary now in the House, because I was a state rep before I became a state senator. In the House, they debate a lot. I mean, you go to the House of Representatives at any time, and you will hear noise all the time. Noise. And it'll be in the middle of a bill, in the middle of debate. And you'll say, well, why are those people walking around over there? And why aren't they listening? And why is so-and-so talking to so-and-so over there when you're debating a bill? That's the way the House operates. And they will have anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, maybe sometimes even more, debate on a single bill. In the Senate, it's the custom that all the work gets done on the bill in committee. So that's why committee is really, really important, and you've got to know those bills coming to your committee inside and out. So the work is actually done on the bill, changes are made in it, suggestions are made, questions are asked in committee, not necessarily on the floor. So when you get to the floor, the sponsor of the bill gets up, explains the bill, and then the chairman of that committee gets up and says, we recommend that this bill be passed because da-da-da-da-da. The Republican spokesman on the committee, because the Democrats control everything down in Springfield, so they are the committee chairman. The Republican spokesman then gets up and says, we may have a difficulty with this, this, and this. We'll be working on that in a future bill or whatever the situation is. But we recommend that you pass this at that time. So there's usually only 3 speakers on any given bill. Now, anybody, of course, can get up and ask a question, but generally the senators trust each other that you have done your homework in committee, and so there's usually only 3 speakers on any given bill, which cuts down on the time very, very much. So, and so during debate in the Senate, You won't see people up walking around or necessarily talking to each other, just chitter-chattering and all that sort of stuff. You will see them actually paying attention to the debate because it's relatively short, and then you vote. So it's the same process exactly between the House and the Senate. You know, you have to introduce a bill, you have to present it, you have to get it out of committee, you have to get it through second reading, third reading, and then, you know, over to the other house. Exact same process. But the way things are implemented is different between the House and the Senate. The Senate does things differently than the House. In the Senate, we often say we pace ourselves. Where the House is more rambunctious, the Senate paces itself.
And you're only saying that because you're a senator, right?
Oh, of course.
I think, if I recall right, there was something like 637 bills in this General Assembly have now become law.
Yes.
Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
And how many were controversial and how many not?
Well, you've less than 10% usually ever pass both the House and the Senate. I would say only about 10 to 15% were ever controversial in that 600 bills. The rest were probably passed unanimously by each chamber.
And Carole, I can say...
a lot of people think that we fight all the time down in Springfield, and that really isn't the case. You have your first votes, which are usually for Senate President and the rules and all that sort of stuff. Those are Republican-Democrat votes. Republicans all vote one way and the Democrats all vote another way. After that, the fights we tend to have down in Springfield are not Republican-Democrat fights, but they're regional fights. The city against the suburbs against downstate, downstate against both the city and the suburbs. Generally, the way the Senate lays itself out, about 1/3 of the senators are from the city of Chicago, 1/3 are from the suburban area, 1/3 is considered downstate, which is generally anything south of I-80. So downstate comes pretty high up there in the state. And so that dynamic is what is usually the thing we fight over. We fight over regional issues, not necessarily Republican-Democrat issues.
And from what you're telling me and what you're saying here, Carole, I think that probably most people in the Senate, most people representing us, even in Springfield, even though we like to say naughty things about them, that they are trying to make our world a little better.
Yes.
Just trying to make our world just a little better and doing that way. I fortunately in my career in life I was worked with a lot of people, regular voters. If we could get them in if we can get them to vote, would be just like you and me, workers, or
Sure.
You know, and would be watching casually the things. And I found out that sometimes they had as much misinformation as some of my friends up here did.
Oh, sure.
About that.
Oh, sure. We're just regular people like everybody else, and we have to listen. We have to listen to what our voters back home are telling us that they're interested in.
When severe weather strikes, be prepared and take action. When a tornado warning is issued, seek shelter immediately. Plan ahead for your own safety.
You were on the Board of Health of DuPage County.
Yes.
And
yes, before I was a state senator, before I was a state rep, I was on the DuPage County Board. And as a member of the county board, a certain number of county board members must sit on the Board of Health. And so I was there, as an unpaid. I didn't get paid for that because I was there representing the county board on the Board of Health. It's a very, very dynamic department, the Department of Health. And I think people don't really realize the enormity of the tasks that they have. Any kind of for instance, if there's some sort of bug going around different restaurants or something else that happens, they are the people in charge of taking over and making sure that people remain safe. If there's any kind of an epidemic, any kind of a breakout, it's not the police, it's not the fire, it's not the emergency guys that take over, it's the Board of Health. I don't think people realize that. They do a lot with immunizations. They do a lot with environmental things. They do a lot with inspections and with mental health. So those are kind of the 4 areas that they concentrate their activities in. And it's a very vibrant board, and it's a very needed cause.
In inspections, they're proactive in inspecting. Is that
Yes.
Would you say that?
Yes.
That is, just about every restaurant in town gets inspected, or every restaurant in the county, I should say,
Right.
gets inspected probably at least once every 6 months.
Yes. Yes.
More if they're in trouble, I would say.
Yes. Well, and the Board of Health has the ability to shut them down immediately. If they find anything, they say, close those doors. That's it. You're shut down until the situation is rectified. So believe me, when a restaurant owner or business owner sees them coming in, they pay attention.
Well, being active in the VFW and active in our local thing, when having fish fries and
Sure.
operating a club room, we were attentive and were inspected every 6 months too.
Yes.
So you know,
And they can be a little scary too.
Yes. I won't say that was one of my partners in the we were working closely with. I let him worry about that. When you were on the county board, did you have anything that would come to mind? Anything happen that would be completely outstanding in your mind? Was there a bill or something? I'm throwing a curve at her right now.
Yeah.
But, something that would be
Stormwater. I was there on the county board when we had the flood of 78. 87, right. I wasn't that old. In 87. So I was a county board member then. And that's when Salt Creek flooded, everybody flooded. We had our auto body repair shop in Bloomingdale that I talked about, Bloomingdale Carriage Shop. And I remember the water was so high that it was literally, we had these big bay doors. We had 20 bay doors, where you would lift the doors up so the cars could come in and whatever. And they were like right across from each other. So you could bring a car in here and a car in here, car. I remember it was a good 18 inches high, and the pressure was on the door, so it was so heavy, that water pressure, that we decided to just open the doors and let the water come swishing through. Because, you were going to lose the doors if you didn't do that.
Sure. So
we just let it come through. Place got cleaned up, but sure smelled bad. Ooh, I hate that smell. So anyway, after that, and Jack Kniffer was the county board chairman at that time. And so we started out, I said, Jack, we have to do this. People in DuPage County can't go through floods like this over and over and over again. So we actually put together the first stormwater committee. I was the first chairman of the Stormwater Committee, which is a joint committee between, it was then and now, a joint committee between county board members and municipal members. So we have the same number of county board members on the committee as municipal members. And we put together stormwater ordinance. We bought the Elmhurst Quarry. for about $40 million, which everybody thought was a tremendous amount of money, which has come to be a pretty good price now, and did the Itasca Wooddale Reservoir. A lot of things we accomplished in those next years. So I'm very, very proud of that work. And I would say the most important thing we did was we passed the first ever in the nation stormwater runoff ordinance, where always before, whatever rate the water was running at, that's the rate it had to be let go. Now you had to release at 1.5, so you had to slow that water down so it didn't gush through. So yeah, we did a lot of good work. And so if you're asking me what I'm proudest of from when I was on the county board, it would have to be the stormwater committee, the stormwater work that we did, the ordinance, the different reservoirs. We made a difference in people's lives. And that's a good feeling, good feeling.
I can say, oh my, OMG, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. We're coming down to the wire here pretty soon.
We are?
Yeah, already.
I thought we just started.
We just did. What is important? I'm not going to touch the budget because everybody, all the paid reporters and all that ask those questions. But what other than that, something big or something that you're interested in?
Pension reform. Pension reform and Medicaid reform are two things that this state absolutely has to do, and they have to do it now. They can't wait for later. They have to do it now. We are so far in debt in our pension payments because over the years, Republicans and Democrats have not fully funded the pension. They haven't made their pension payments every year. It was always the area where if you needed some money for the budget, you just shorted the pension payment, that amount. Well, it is starting to catch up with us. And the benefits are starting to catch up with us. And it's become now a system that is totally unsustainable. I mentioned earlier that my Democratic colleagues have put through the tax increase last year. That raised approximately $7 billion for the state. That increase in taxes from 3% to 5%, that's 67% tax increase. Every penny of that was used to make the pension payment last year, to pay the pension payment. We didn't pay our bills. My Democratic colleagues said, oh, we got to pay our bills. We have to have this tax increase. We have to pay our bills. We didn't pay our bills with it. We made the pension payment. That is how huge of a problem it is. And even the bond houses have now downgraded the state of Illinois, where we are the worst state, bond-rated state in the nation. We're worse than California. Oh, can't believe it. We're worse than California. So what do we have to do? We have an unsustainable system. We have to fix it.
How are we going to fix it? We've got less than a minute, kid.
Okay, moving forward, not taking anything away from what people have already earned, but from a certain date forward, whatever date that is, the pension payments, the pension benefits have got to be reduced. We are living in different times now. What was good 20 years ago isn't good now. There's a new normal, and our pension payments must adjust to it.
Carole, we've been talking to Senator Carole Pankau, and boy, I hope you've gotten as much out of this as I have. Carole is up for re-election, and of course, Carole, hopefully, that you'll be running as a Republican against our president, Tom Cullerton, who will be running as a Democrat.
And then we'll have a spirited debate on your program, Sid.
I certainly hope so.